It's a big week 5 for the Giants as they go across the pond to battle the Green Bay Packers in London, which means it's time for Know Your Enemy. This week, we bring in Andy Herman. He is a writer and editor for Packer Reporter and the owner of the Pack-A-Day podcast. Love that name. Andy, how's it going, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Oh, man, glad to have you here. Always good to talk about the opponent on the other side of the ball here. And Andy, heading into week 5, the Giants have the league's leading rusher in Saquon Barkley. Now, the Packers, they've struggled to stop the run. So how does Green Bay deal with the Giants' tailback?
Yeah, so I think a couple things, right? So I think it was a little bit of scheme, and I think it was a little bit of execution last week. I think Green Bay is going to be hyper-focused for two reasons. A, it's Saquon Barkley, so of course they're going to be focused on the run. But B, after having a tough day against Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, with Bailey Zappi at quarterback, you know that this is going to be a team that is repping run defense all week long. And, Matt LaFleur really didn't, sugarcoat anything this week. He basically said, hey, when we are going against a team that's running the ball a ton, we need to bring an extra guy in the box. He had some kind of pointed comments in that regard. So you can expect that they're going to put numbers into the box to stop Saquon Barkley this week. They need to be better on the edge. They did not set a great edge last week, did not funnel things inside to Kenny Clark, and things didn't go right because of it. So they're going to be hyper-focused on Saquon in the run defense this week.
Now, when it comes to talking about the Packers, everybody's going to talk about the QB, Aaron Rodgers. So he's leading this year a young and inexperienced receiving core. So how does Rodgers and the Pack, how do they attack the Giants defense, particularly their secondary this week?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for this team is they're still learning how to sort of be a more defensive run-oriented team. And you can tell that this is a little bit of a transition. This has basically been a pass-happy, quarterback-driven team for basically 3 decades, right? So I think this is going to still be a team that needs to find balance, and they have to start with Jones and Dillon in the backfield. And then that really starts opening up some of those deep shots. We saw Romeo Doubs have the opportunity for a touchdown in the back end zone. Unfortunately, had the drop. We saw it in week 1 with Christian Watson having the drop after he beat Patrick Peterson. So these young wide receivers are going to have to step up, but guys like Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb have been huge. Cobb has been massive on third downs for Rodgers when they've been in third and longer situations. So this team has the weapons that they need at wide receiver. They just need to step up in those big moments, specifically those rookies in Doubs and Christian Watson.
So while it's time for those wideouts to step up, let's go back to the running game. We talked about Barkley, but Packers running back Aaron Jones, he's 7th in the league in rushing with 327 rushing yards. So will running the ball with Jones be a priority in week 5?
Yeah, very much so. We just kind of talked about how important it is for the running backs to kind of set up this passing game. Aaron Jones has been nothing short of phenomenal. And I think he's probably still one of the most underrated stars in the league, in my opinion. Matt LaFleur was asked about that this week and said, he's not sure how he's viewed outside the league, but in their room, in their offices, they consider him one of the best. He's been extremely dynamic with the ball in his hands. This Packers running attack has been able to go up and down the field against opposing defenses that include, obviously, Tampa Bay, New England this past week, Chicago, some decent defenses. And I think they're really going to look to get both Dillon and Jones involved again. Those guys are going to continue to sort of share carries, which I know isn't always fun for fantasy football fans, but it works well in Green Bay, and they really complement each other extremely well.
So, Andy, I don't think I'm alone in this. Last week, many people thought it was going to be a walk in the park for Green Bay once New England was down to their 3rd-string QB. So going across the pond this week, do you look at this game against the G-Men as a trap game for the Pack?
I don't know if it's a trap game, but I expect it to sort of be another ugly game. And I think, again, people are adjusting to this Green Bay team. This isn't the, Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jermichael Finley. You can go 4 wides and run up and down the field and put up 40 points when you need to. This is a more methodical team, and they don't have the ability to just put teams away with just their pure unadulterated talent. So they've got to work at it. They've got to play complementary football. And I think we're really seeing with this Giants team right now, a very well-coached team with Brian Dable and Wink Martindale. They're really maximizing their strengths, mitigating their weaknesses. I think this Giants team is going to be very annoying for just about everyone they're playing through the majority of the season because of how well coached they are. Now you have another hurdle in having to go overseas for both of these teams. I think this is going to take a little while for both of these teams to kind of feel each other out and really get any momentum in this game. Because of that, I expect it to be a close, tough battle. I think Green Bay comes out on top in the end, but I expect this to be a close game, kind of similar to what we saw with New England and Green Bay a week ago.
All right, expecting a close one across the pond. That is Giants versus Packers. Packers, they are the home team for this one, and that game is going to go down Sunday morning. Early start on the East Coast, even earlier for Andy. 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Andy's going to have to watch this one really early. That is Andy Herman. Andy, we appreciate you. Thanks for joining us, and you know your enemy.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Anytime, man.